met Michael Swift at a parliamentarian conference 2 years ago, and he was a teacher presenter. And I thought that he could do a good job of coming to Cecil County and helping us run more efficient meetings. And so I asked him, and he made a proposal to the council to come here for his gas and toll money, and we will take care of that for you. And he's going to try to start with the basics and teach us how to have effective meetings and the basics of Robert's Rules of Order. Now, just for Mr. Swift's benefit, I think you met most of the council this morning. Councilwoman Joyce Bowlesby, Councilman Alan McCarthy, Councilwoman Diana Brumal, the President, Council Robert Hodge, Vicki Rickerman is our acting council manager. Bob Fisher is the mayor of Rising Sun. Bill DeFreitas is the editor and publisher of Guardian magazine or newspaper, and other members of the public. And behind you is Al Wine, is the director of administration for the executive, and then there's other members of the public that are interested in having a successful and respectful and civil meeting. So you're on.
No, I'm fine. I'm a walker around. Any of this material that anyone wants, they can email me. Simply upon request, I'll email you PDFs of all this stuff. If you open your yellow book to the inside front cover, keep the big commercial. So my name is Michael L. Swift. I'm a professional registered parliamentarian with the National Association of Parliamentarians and a certified professional parliamentarian teacher with the American Institute of Parliamentarians. You have to take 2 breaths to say all that. And inside the front cover is the commercial, and down the bottom it says what I've done. In short, I've done it all. Presiding, secretary, expert, witness, etc., including teaching this stuff. I did teach for many years at Catonsville Community College and Anne Arundel Community College. Electronics, physics, and math. It has nothing to do with this stuff. I guess this is what you call your second career, and it is my day job. If you have any questions during the presentation, please ask. You don't have to save them for a Q&A period, just throw them out there. I had a plan when I was coming here this morning, and I watched your first meeting, and it went well. It really did. The problem I have is I put something together after reading the newspaper. And the newspaper sounded like all of you know what broke loose, and people were throwing chairs. So this stuff is relatively easy. It's, you know, you ever heard a story that two guys in prison, and one guy says, "What you here for?" He says, "Oh, I had a perfect robbery." He says, "Well, was it perfect? What are you doing here?" He says, "Well, after 6 months of detailed planning, I walked into the bank, handed the teller my gun, and stuck the note in her face and said, 'Give me all your money.'" I came here this morning with a detailed plan, and I watched the meeting, and I went, "Oh, my plan kind of fell apart." Not the first time. You have a first page inside your book is a trifold. It tells you what a parliamentarian can do. They can do the secretary, the presiding, the bylaw writing, etc., etc. Goes on and on and on. It's from the National Association of Parliamentarians. The next one you have is a flyer for the Institute, as we call it, that President Hodge attended in 2010. It's coming up again April 6th. And it's open to the public. It's a whole day of this stuff, of practicing the protocol and all that other stuff. The cost is $25. It's sponsored by MAP, Maryland Association of Parliamentarians. They don't make money on it, I can tell you that for a fact. The lunch you get is $25 easy, and all the books you get are free. Directions are on the back. The next one Should say, why adopt the parliamentary authority? And adopt, which now seems to be a moot point. It looks like they're going to adopt Roberts. Is that final, or is that one of those amendments waiting to?
We haven't adopted our policy procedures yet.
Okay.
And I would assume we should incorporate that in that.
This one, but why adopt the parliamentary authority gives you the reason why at the top, because everything is efficient. It's not a bed of roses, but there's a lot less contention. It's far more efficient. Then it gives you a brief history. It started in 1774 with, of all people, Thomas Jefferson, writing little hints and rules for the Continental Congress. Then it goes on up to 2013. It winds up with the most popular Robert's Rules of Order. You don't have to adopt Roberts. You don't have to adopt anything. You can adopt Roberts. You can adopt demeanors. You can adopt the Standard Code by AIP. You can adopt Masons. I think the one most suitable for you is Roberts because it is the most common, most well-known, most popular. Some of the rules that I read in your procedures actually address issues from Masons, and that's not uncommon. I forgot to mention, among other things, I am the parliamentarian for Baltimore City Council. And for them, which is typical of public administrations, they say Roberts is the rule book, and then they write a 90-page set of rules of their own. And in that, they address all kinds of issues taken out of Mason's Manual of Legislative Procedure. And then poor parliamentarian has to wade through all this. So it's not uncommon that you adopt Roberts and then you have these exceptions and you introduce, maybe without realizing it, Masons. Because Masons, excuse me, is legislative. Roberts is deliberative. You guys are legislative, guys and girls, legislative. But you have to deliberate to get there.
Mr. Schlepp, in my experience with Robert's Rules of Order, we don't know, it is very comprehensive, it's very detailed. A lot of times I see that an attorney is needed sometimes to interpret Robert's Rules if there's some confusion. Have you found that to be the case?
No, but I guess I'm not the one to answer that because I'm looking for the book. I'm not the one to answer because the last one you want to ask to interpret Roberts or your procedure is a lawyer. They say I have nothing against lawyers. Some of my best friends are lawyers. My father was a lawyer. And on the cover, it's written by Henry and Robert III, Henry's grandson. Daniel Hahnemann is a lawyer. Thomas Bouch is a lawyer. So 2 lawyers wrote the book. Other than them, I wouldn't ask any lawyer to interpret this. I ask a parliamentarian.
Well, an attorney who is versed in parliamentary law. No.
These 2 are. Is the lawyer you're talking about a professional registered parliamentarian?
That's the question. Okay. And if we don't have someone advising us if we are not following correct procedure, is this something that we could run into a court of law being challenged?
The answer is yes, you could.
Okay.
Okay. We'll see if we can help out with that. Roberts is they used to say a gentleman's agreement. Now it's a ladies and gentlemen's agreement. Roberts deals with this. If all of you together agree these are the rules, then the ladies and gentlemen's agreement is we'll follow the rules because we adopted them, and you do so. If anyone or group violates the rules that you all agreed to, then you've broken this ladies and gentlemen's agreement. It's a question of honor so far. But one of the people that were violated could then sue, and then it becomes a question of law in the courts. You see how that works? So it's what I say is when you write bylaws for your rules and procedures, that is an agreement between one party and the commissioners. The board is the party. You get a lawyer when you want to let a contract to someone to pave the road. Then you get the lawyers because there's 2 parties. And the contract, the lawyer deals with that, contract between 2 parties. I deal with a contract between one party. And if anybody violates it, I can't arrest you and take you to court. Okay?
But what if there's a disagreement on board about how the policy or the procedures were followed when
Then someone-
the agreement was broken.
Someone calls a point of order.
Yes.
In other words, a rule is violated.
When the president ignores that point of order.
Slow down. Do not what if, stop.
Okay.
If a rule is violated,
Yes.
a member calls a point of order. Okay? The chair said, I'll do the official wording. The chair says, the member will state his point. And the member says, well, she spoke 3 times, and you're only allowed to speak twice. And the chair said, oh, yeah, that's right, I saw that. The member's point is well taken. Council member Bruno will please be seated. Because you spoke a 3rd time, you're only allowed 2. Then someone can raise the question of, I request that she be allowed, Council member Bruno be allowed to speak a 3rd time. Second, move, second, all in favor, yada, 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 and you get to speak 3rd time.
What if? Okay.
What if you be careful, what if? What if somebody breaks in here with an automatic weapon?
Just anticipating.
Okay.
From experience, what if the point of order was ignored?
Ignored?
Ignored. What if? Just let me give you another what if.
Hold on a minute.
Okay.
You got too many what ifs. You want to what if yourself to death. If the chair ignores your point of order, I cannot see President Hodge doing that. If the chair says, to hell with you, I'm not going to pay any attention.
He's used those words.
Then the majority, make sure you got a good solid majority behind you.
Oh my goodness.
The majority, we the people, being the commissioners, can rise up and one of you take over the meeting and say, the member will state his point. And at this time the president's going, no, and democracy has flourished. That's the what if. I don't see
we the people are members of the council.
In this case, we the people is 6 people.
What if?
I'm sorry, 5 people.
What if I don't have a majority and it's
Tough.
ignored?
You lose.
There
You lose. Another fundamental principle, and people have trouble with this, the Senate has trouble with it. There's a caucus in the House has trouble with it. Remember when Obama was elected the first time? We're going to make him a 1-term president. And I'm a parliamentarian, so whether I like him or not is not the point. He won the election, sir. Move on. You lost. Get over it. That's the fundamental principle of democracy. If you lose the vote, you're supposed to pitch in with the majority and help them. Until such time as you can convince the majority to come to your side. You see that?
Okay.
Okay? I'm listening. It gets dry up here.
What if there is a motion made to review names, not to adjourn a meeting?
Before you do the eternal what if,
Okay.
can you hold them?
Okay.
Because don't look on the back of the book. On the back of the book is the answer to a lot of your questions. Don't worry about not to look in your book.
Well, now I'm going to look.
We're going to go with this. So you look at the front cover. The next thing says Parliamentary Procedure Primer. And I told you at the meeting this morning, I thought it went well. There were some hiccups, minor parliamentary hiccups. What are you going to call each other? Have you ever decided?
Council persons. What do you mean? Elaborate. You mean title?
Council member Bruno? Is it Bruno? Am I doing it right?
Bruno. I think it's councilwoman.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Then if you are Councilwoman Bruno, then he is Councilman McCarthy. Councilman McCarthy. The signs I made say council member, so it's neutral.
I like that.
And what is his name? Question, what's his first name?
Bob.
No.
President.
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 Somebody asked me the other day, said, you always do that? I said, yes. When I deal with all my clients, I don't say Bob this and Bob that. I said, Mr. President. You always call them that? I said, that's their title. They were elected or appointed or got there, and that's their title, and that's how I address them. So everyone should agree that we're going to say, and it sounds like councilman and councilwoman. So if anyone addresses Councilwoman Brumel, it's Councilwoman Brumel.
We're having a hard time remembering.
If anyone
Your
addresses
commissioner.
the president, it's President Hodge or Mr. President. And you were doing that this morning, when every now and then I'd see like a wax, and the name would pop up, and I'd go, ooh. In my business, it's like, ooh, don't do that. So you keep the formality. And you also always address the presiding officer. And you did that frequently, but there were a couple of these hiccups. I'm like, that didn't go through the chair. Everything should go through the chair. Only one person speaks at a time. Which one? The one recognized by the chair.
Now, how do you get recognized by the chair if you can't see the chair? And if I put up my hand in the air, you don't even know that I'm doing it.
Because of the way we see it.
Well, you might have, like teachers do, you get a couple of pieces of chalk, right?
Throw the chalk at them.
And if somebody's dozing, you wing the chalk at them.
But the way we're set up, it's very difficult.
Oh, it is. I was looking for a folder and I can't find it. Here it is. There's a couple things you can do. Again, there it is. I forgot to tell you one thing. I forgot to tell you a couple things. Everybody open your Roberts, page 465. Realizing everyone brought their copy.
None of us have one.
If you haven't, I'll read it. Like the lawyers say in court, just read the highlighted section. Page 465, line 13. The parliamentarian's role during a meeting or any other time is purely an advisory and consultative one, since parliamentary law gives to the chair alone the power to rule on questions of order or to answer parliamentary inquiries.
And is that, what version is that?
11th edition.
Okay, are all the editions going to say pretty much the same thing, or are they gonna?
I wouldn't use the old editions.
No, I want to know. You could pick an edition. We haven't approved. I'm gonna pick one that I like.
Usually they say the most recent edition.
But the previous editions then, may not say that.
But you shouldn't go to the previous edition, I'll tell you why. In 1876, Robert wrote the first book, and it's about that thick, and it was a pocket manual on parliamentary procedure, and it's in your handout thing. And the publisher had the schmarts to put on the title, Robert's Rules, because the parliamentary manual of procedure, something was too long. So it got the name Robert's Rules, stuck. Everybody had a question that wasn't answered in the book. They wrote to Henry M. Robert III, and he answered them. 10 years later, he had a pile of all these answers, things he didn't think about, so he put them in the book. And guess what happened every 10 years thereafter? People keep sending in questions. But what if you're on the left side and you raise your right hand and it's good, he's high, and on and on and on, and they go, oh, and they say, we didn't explain that, and they put it in there.
But I thought there were, I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot, but I thought there were different editions for different councils and.
No, there are different editions for every 10 years, and the reason they do that is for legal purposes, so they can keep the copyright.
Okay, so they're updating the questions.
Every
that
10 years.
Okay.
They're answering all the questions that came in and sticking it into the book again. And that little pocket book became 700 pages of wow.
When was the last edition published?
This one's the 11th.
Okay, so it's June.
The 11th
So
edition.
It's safe to go ahead and buy that.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, I just wanted to let you know, I think I mentioned it earlier, that whatever I say is just advice. And some of the material you got has some things about your rules. All my name stuff's on the bottom so everybody knows it's my 2 cents worth. There's some possibilities what you might do with your seating. You could angle these 2 tables out, put a wedgie in here and set him into wedgie, and line you up on the side. The people can see you, you can see the people, and everybody sees he's in the center. Everybody see that? And now you can get his attention. Mm-hmm. And it is important that everyone knows who's driving the bus. Yeah. There should be one driver on the bus, and it should be very clear who he or she is and where they're located. And everything goes through that person. $1 to a donut, things will go faster and be less contentious.
I don't think so. But
Well, that's fine, but the problem is, they go through that position, the motion is made, debate is handled, the vote is taken, and that's it. And then you move on. You move on. You're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some.
I do think configuration needs to be changed, Robert. It's very,
I don't know how you're gonna defend that.
on the side rather than to be here, and there's always gonna be one on the same side. Sometimes
Put
it's
her on the
configuration.
side. Or if you bend the tables and put a wedgie in, you get a little spot right next to him. Just suggestions. But the point is, it should be obvious who the presiding officer is. Clearly. Notice they're always on the dais with the lectern at the big meetings, and somebody like me is always sitting next to them with their head down. So the beginning of this parliamentary primer is the conducting of business, and I asked you what names you're going to use, so we're going to use Councilman, Councilwoman, and President Hodge. Now, everybody's going to be recognized by the chair. Debate. There's a rule against discussion without a motion, and it's one of the things that keeps things on track and moving. If you have discussion or debate without a motion, then it's not debate, it's just talk. Remarks must be germane to the motion. If someone makes a motion to do something and you think it's absolutely absurd, then you can say so. But you do not say anything about the member that made the motion. I think council member so-and-so is a twit, that's why he keeps making these stupid motions. That's not proper. I think the motion to buy a new lawn tractor is unnecessary because we have two in the maintenance shed. Yes, sir.
My question was, you have to be recognized by
The chair.
president.
Yeah, the chair, yeah, president.
Okay. You just can't word it out.
Then you address, that's the old rule, everything I ever need to know I learned in second grade, is that what that was years ago?
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten, everything I needed to know I learned in kindergarten. You know, be
Great.
polite, take your turn, wait for others. I think sometimes it's the losing part that gets it.
I have
Yes,
a
ma'am.
question. Okay, so, there was in our policies and procedures, I wanted to incorporate, conduct, rules of conduct, specifically, if the public comes to speak, we've had problems with it getting out of hand, where slanderous statements were made, or if it was, threatening, that kind of thing, and then we said that we could remove them from the meeting. Now, the enforcement is what I'm wondering about, and is it in the policies that we would adopt that? It seems, does Robert's rules have specific conduct, area? I didn't see anything.
They have decorum and debate.
That's
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
That's all, that's it.
Well, then they cover the situations you're talking about, but for your rules, I have suggested to President Hodge that a professional parliamentarian look over your rules and edit them. Again, it's only advice. It can be me or another. You can call or email NAP and tell them you're in Cecil County, et cetera, we need a parliamentarian, they'll give you a list of names. And then you can pick one to help you with this issue. You don't have to hire them for eternity, like Baltimore City on the payroll. You can hire them to do this, and they'll do it and submit it
To
to
do
you.
what?
To review your rules
Okay.
and find contradictions and loopholes and things that will cause fights 4 meetings from now. Because we do that all the time. And we are not, I have no vested interest in Cecil County Council. So I'm not on any side. I just read a rule and I go, oh, that rule's an argument waiting to happen. So.
We already have, decorum issues because we don't have a standard that we're enforcing and getting out of
It
hand.
can be taken care of. I just made that suggestion. You have several rules that are contradicting each other. You have, one rule that's basically in the negative that can cause confusion. It'll be a fight. The debate, no motion, no debate. Remarks germane to the motion. And as I said earlier, you condemn the motion, but never the member. You do not impugn the motives of a member. The motions. Typically, in doing business, when the president recognizes you, the first thing you say is, "I move." There was one this morning when you amended the minutes. The official statement is, "I move to amend the minutes of January whatever by adding the statement," and then you read the statement. Someone says second. The presiding officer says it's moved and second to amend the meeting by adding the statement. Reads the statement. Any discussion? Yada, yada, yada. All in favor, aye. All opposed, no. And it's adopted. It was done well, but I say the official terminology is, "I move that," boom. And then the chair repeats what was said. So it's perfectly clear to everyone what that motion is. The time a motion is in order, you have to consider, is the motion in order at this time? And the way you do that is look on the back cover of the book, and it tells you. The next thing you need to do, once the motion is made, is determine how, the book, the yellow book. The little yellow book. This little yellow book is Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, 11th edition, which is 700 pages long, condensed to 40 pages. Makes it a lot easier. So on the back, you have this rank from 14 to 0, and on the back, you have the handling of a motion is determined by the characteristics. Officially, there are 8 of them, and I have 1/2/3, etc. But what you worry about is 4, 5, 6, 7, and maybe 8. And they're listed on the back. So if you look at the back, it tells you down the bottom, if someone's going to make a motion with a lower rank, lower number, is in order, and a motion with a higher number is not in order at this time. Any questions on that? Good, you all got it.
The lower the number,
Yeah.
the more important the motion is.
Oh, the less important.
The lower the number, the less important.
So main motion is the most important.
Main motion 14. I move that Cecil County buy a new lawn tractor. Second, we would say buy a new lawn tractor. That's number 14. Someone says, I move to postpone it indefinitely. Question, is that in order?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And now we're talking about postponement, and one of the members gets up, the chair recognizes me, and I get up and say, I move to postpone it to the next meeting. Second, we would say postpone it to the next meeting. Is that in order?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Another member gets up and says, Mr. President, I move to refer it to committee. Second. Is that in order?
No.
Why not?
Because it's a higher number.
Because they tried to move down the list. You see how that works? As you move, as in I move up the list, eventually you're going to run out, right? Yes. And then you're going to do what? Vote down all the things that you just piled up. So there are 2 questions to be answered. Is it in order at this time? If so, do it. If not, it doesn't mean you can't do it. It means you have to wait until that time arrives again. Once you've got the motion on the floor, then you read across the page, the cover, and it says, does it need a second? It tells you whether it does or not. Is it debatable? Some are not debatable. Can you amend it? Some you can, some you can't. What's the vote required? Some require a majority, some 2/3, some you don't even vote on, some takes a vote of 1. Yes, ma'am.
What happens if you, if someone in the audience or someone sitting here, 2 different scenarios, sees that we didn't follow the protocol? What's the penalty?
Tell them you're sorry and you get right on it.
Excuse me?
I said, tell them you're sorry and get right on the protocol.
Okay,
Remember, if you
it's
do
a
it-
guideline that the president can use to guide the
Direct
meeting.
traffic.
Okay. So if he is, not a good director of traffic, we're at his mercy.
Then you have collisions.
Well, we're at
You
his
do,
mercy.
it's like a traffic
We're
incident.
at his mercy, and, okay, so if we're one of the, council members, or woman, man, whatever, and we say point of order, and he recognizes us, and we
The
point
member
it
will
out,
state her point.
okay, then this is a way to get him
To
back
correct,
on
yeah.
track, but it's up to him to acknowledge or not, and the majority.
And he first he, President
We're at the
I,
mercy of the president
rules.
and the majority,
I don't
what
like
really
it. I
comes
don't
down
like
to.
at the mercy of, that's kind of
Yeah,
strange.
I'm living in a
That's
different
the way it
reality,
is.
this
Okay.
is my perspective.
His job is to direct, any president's job is to direct traffic. I like that terminology because it's like the cop at the intersection who directs traffic.
And we want to.
He doesn't know if you're going to Florida or if you're going to work. All he knows is you gotta wait until he goes, and you gotta wait until she goes. And that's the presiding officer's job.
Is this something that, your Baltimore City or?
City council, it's Baltimore City.
Oh.
Born and raised
Do you
there.
work with Turbala?
Victor Turbola.
Victor Turbala?
What is his?
I thought
He's
he.
a lawyer.
For
He
Baltimore.
drove
I
in
work
charge
with,
of
I work with Michelle Worsberg. She's the president's lawyer.
Ah,
He
okay.
and I work together. And the other Andrew, which is the mayor's lawyer.
Are the council, well versed in this?
Yes, they are.
They are, okay.
Mhm. They are. If you go down and watch them, they're very formal. Of course, it's an old ornate building. I mean, theirs is modern, but theirs is ornate with all the things, but yes, it's very strictly monitored. And the public can watch, but they don't participate in the council meeting.
Really?
Every bill that is introduced, you have a simulator set up here, every bill that is introduced, it's read, it's introduced, and the chair says, this is referred to the unknown committee. And then that committee gets up at the end of the meeting and says, the committee is having an open hearing on bill whatever.
Something.
And then the public comes and talks to the committee, makes recommendations, the committee employs them or not, and then brings it back to the floor. It's read 3 times. But yours, you have a bill comes up here, you have a peculiar voting on it, then you vote on it, and then it goes to a hearing, and then it comes back. Similar. So they have their hearing over at the committee, not at the council meeting, which you could do if you wanted to write it
That's
out.
like the General Assembly.
Pardon?
The General Assembly is a much more formal.
Yeah, the
and-
city, well, general assembly, the city council meeting is formal.
She was talking about the state legislature.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're with me. Annapolis. That's all Masons and their little book. I worked with them. Now, where was I? I was moving down my page, I lost the page.
We were talking about motions.
Yeah.
Where it is. So people confused with facts. The question now is, do you see how the rank works? So if you pick a higher number than what's out there, it doesn't mean it's not in order. This is a key point. It's not in order at this time. You can catch it on the way down and throw it out there again. Then it's in order. There are, in the next one, steps. Officially, there are 6 steps to adopting a motion. 6 steps. And it gives you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When you read the book, they give you 2 sets of 3, so it's the same thing. Some member says, I move. Of course, that's after being recognized by the chair. Another member says, I second. The chair says, it has been moved and seconded to by the new lawn tractor. The members in turn debate the motion. The chair says, those in favor of buying this lawn tractor, raise your hands. You know, counts. Here you don't have to count the smaller group. Hands down, those opposed. And then he announces the result. They're blank in the affirmative, blank in the negative. The ayes, the affirmative has it, the motion is adopted. Or the negative has it, the motion is lost. Either way, it's a done deed at that point.
Do you feel it's better to have a show of hands or a verbal?
It's up to y'all. You decide to put in your rules.
A roll call.
Yeah, on your bills, you need roll call. That's in your other rules.
Right.
For procedural things, so it works. The next one down is general consent. General consent is the easiest way out. There were several times this morning when that could have been done, and it works like this. The presiding officer says, if there's no objection, like if someone wanted the carpet cleaned, and you say, oh man, let's look at all the stains, we really need. If there's no objection, we will have the carpet cleaned. There being no objection, the carpet will be cleaned. Got it? The 6 steps aren't there. Nobody made the motion, nobody seconded it, nobody even said anything about it. The chair assumed there was a motion, assumed there was a second, and assumed there was a majority vote in favor of it. Because it's routine, non-contentious business. And here's the catch, here's the savior. He says, if there's no objection, we'll have the carpet cleaned. Someone says one word. Object. The chair says, there is an objection. The motion is to clean the carpet. Is there any discussion? Because now we're going to debate it, now we're going to vote on it. What the person objected to may not have been washing the carpet, it may have been this shortcut, fast track. They said, no, it could be, this is too important for fast track. So my objection is, and you don't have to explain, not that I don't want the carpet clean, it's that I think this is a little more serious and we should all throw in our 2 cents and then vote. You see how that works? So, and I was down there scribbling notes this morning, and a couple, 3 times I went, oh, unanimous consent, put it right there, because everybody was in favor of it. And if anyone objects, they just say objection. One warning, and I heard this morning, I won't say this. There was one thing, if nobody objects, and someone said, no, I don't object. Do you remember that?
Yes, I've said it.
I didn't mention that. He said, if there's no objection, we'll do something. And I heard someone say, no, I don't object. And I went, oh, this is the time to be silent. In this business, there's the time to be silent. If he says, if there's no objection, and there's no objection, there's an objection. You see, he waits for silence. So if he says, if there's no objection, don't everybody say, no, there's no objection, no, there's no objection. Just be silent. He will pause. If there's no objection, we'll clean the carpet. There being no objection, we'll clean the carpet, like a metronome. Everybody see it? So that unanimous consent can be used anytime it's a non-contentious issue. And you can do that with your minutes, even after you've amended them. Like this morning, there were a couple amendments. You don't, in fact, have to have someone make a motion to approve the minutes as amended, and you don't have to have a second. The chair says, after your amendment, are there any other amendments, or they call them corrections, are there any other amendments to the minutes? And you got 4 council members going, what do you think? No more corrections? There being no more corrections, the minutes are approved as amended. See, he just made the statement. It's unanimous consent, just boom. Does everybody see how that works? Once there were no more amendments, and if there no, in the first place he says, are there any amendments to the minutes? And again, 4 council members go. What does that mean? The minutes are approved as distributed. Done. You don't need the motion, you don't need the second, you don't need the vote, yada, yada, yada. Does everybody see how that works? Does the next one say rules of the county council? This is, matter of fact, the next 2 are kind of FYI for your information. Now that I saw your rules, you've got quite a bit of this covered. In your new rules, among others, it says you're going to use Roberts. You might use the statement up here in number 1, which is taken right out of Roberts. It says the rules contained in the current edition will be the rules that govern in all cases in which they are applicable and not inconsistent with the charter of Cecil County, Maryland, and any special rules of order the council adopts. That's Robert's wording that he uses. So it gives you an out. Roberts does not supersede a county law or a county charter or any other kind of thing. And this just makes it perfectly clear. If you write a rule in exception to Roberts, you have the right to do so, and it supersedes Roberts. Then you would put your order of business, and I took this from your website order of business and put it in parliamentary terms. Seems like what you have. So you're aware of it. The call to order and adjourn are not business in the order of business. It's important to know that. They are not business in the order of business. So the first thing you did is opening ceremonies, then you approve the minutes. You had presentations to the council, presentations by the council. Just some thoughts. The next thing you might want is special orders. When anything is made a special order, it goes right here under number 5. And the name of the game is if something's really, really important, you want to get it in early before you do all this other business. The more important something is, the further higher up you want it on your agenda. You get down the end, everybody gets tired, and you go, yeah, okay. So special orders are something that is made a special order because of its importance and placed higher on the agenda. Next thing is unfinished business. It's nice to use the term unfinished business, not old business. In this business, there is no old business. I would ask, what do you consider old business?
Unfinished business.
I consider old business, business that was introduced one legislative meeting, and now it's the second, and it's time for a vote. And that the public had enough time.
So the motion was made at the last meeting?
For what?
It was just introduced.
Old business is on.
First readings.
First, okay, so a bill was read at the last meeting. It's a bill is a motion, a resolution.
Yeah, so to us, it means that the status of where it is in the pipeline of when we're gonna vote on it, and how much notice the public
In
had.
parliamentary terms, it's not old business. It's not unfinished. In this case, it would be a general order. Just so you know how it works. Unfinished business. We made a motion at the last meeting, and we're debating the motion, and someone gets up and says, I move to adjourn. Second, it's moved and second to adjourn. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no, no. The ayes have it, the meeting is adjourned. And we were in the middle of the discussion on whether to buy that lawnmower. What happened to that motion?
It's just laying out there.
It becomes unfinished business at the next meeting. It's the thing that was cut off midstream at the previous meeting. It's unfinished. You made the motion, you seconded it, you were debating it, you did not finish it, which means vote on it. So it's unfinished. And at the next meeting, it's unfinished business. What if something is introduced, read, a motion made at this meeting, it goes to a committee or whatever, and comes back at the next meeting? Basically, you legislatively, you postpone it till the next meeting after the hearing, blah, blah, blah. It's a general order. You see it? It's a general order. It's what you will call your second reading. You see that? So there is no old business in parliamentary business. After you do all your second readings and whatever, then you go to your new business. Introduction to new bills, etc., and then you adjourn. Everybody see the difference between unfinished and general orders? So in parliamentary procedure, all this gets put in order, and it gets, I think, a more appropriate name, but I'm biased. Old business sounds like it's something old laying around you didn't take care of, and that's not true. It was something done at the last meeting, went to a hearing, and it's coming back as a general order for this meeting. It's already been introduced. Second reading. And in Baltimore, they call that the second reading. And then the third reading. And the call to order is not part of the, is not business in the order of business, and adjourn is not business in the order of business. And there's a reason Roberts does that. If you don't have a quorum, can you hold a meeting? I have to run this buzzer. Survey says, if you don't have a quorum, and your bylaws say you hold a meeting on Tuesday, then you will hold a meeting on Tuesday.
No action.
Just can't take any action.
Tuesday meeting of the City Council will come to order. There being no quorum, the meeting is adjourned. Did I hold a meeting?
Yes.
Did I do anything?
No.
No. So I complied with the charter that says every Tuesday we gotta have a meeting. It doesn't say you gotta get a whole lot done and be efficient, it just says you gotta hold it, and I did that. 1 minute. If call to order is number one, it's business, and I can't do business if there's no quorum. You see how that works? Yes, ma'am.
So what if you had a quorum when you started the meeting, and the attorney says, because we can't get a majority to vote to adjourn, advises 2 of the members to leave, so there's not a quorum, is it officially adjourned?
You have, number 4, and your new rules are taking steps to take care of this. Look at number 4. These are my rules, I made them up. Council meetings shall adjourn at 9, you see that? So come 9 o'clock, you adjourn. Now, bear with me. This rule may be suspended by a 2/3 vote, that would be 4, of the fixed membership. So come 9 o'clock, you go home. Unless 4 people vote to stay here. So far, so good?
Wait, where are you at?
Done, yeah.
Number 4 on this handout.
Oh, council meetings shall adjourn at 9.
All right? And I got scribbly notes all over my stuff. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, you're still, I'm saying in the instance of the meeting that we didn't have that rule.
In your meeting, you had no problem. Can you hold that until I straighten this out? You do have to be careful of the what ifs. If there's a lawyer here and the mayor's over there and there are 2 governors, and what if it rains? When parliamentarians do professional opinions, ask my opinion, and I write it up. We state the question, right? And then you don't do the what if, mainly because if you do, it's another question and I'll charge you again. And then you go, oh, wait a minute. And then I go from your documents, top down, and answer the question. So when you ask a question and you ask, what if, stop. Go from the top down of your governing documents, answer that question. This if is the second question. So you change the conditions, go to the top of your document, read all the way down, and answer the question. You see it? If you do the what if up front, what if? What if? It's an endless thing. In this case, you adjourn at 9. And I've added to the rules here because I updated them having watched the meeting. It says you can suspend this rule by a 2/3 vote. Now Roberts says this, and this works fine. When it appears there is no further business, you're a regular organization, you meet monthly? Bi-weekly. You have regular meetings, you're a regular organization, this is what happens, and you have a regular agenda. When it appears there is no further business, the chair says, is there any further business to come before the council? I used to say in assembly. And 3 or 4 members look at him like this. He said, there being no further business, the meeting is adjourned. He just did it. It was unanimous consent. To do otherwise, the question is what? What are you going to do? Sit here all night and look at everybody? Huh? You want to sit here all night and stare at each other? You adjourn the meeting and you go home. Period.
Wait.
Yes.
Okay, so when the question is asked, is there any other business, and someone speaks up and says there
If someone, not if they speak up, say, Mr. President.
Someone, okay,
And
someone speaks up.
Mr. President, I move we buy a lawnmower.
No, I move that we make a very important decision. We take
It's
care
been
of
moved and
something.
seconded to make a very important decision.
And, hold on, and then, the next,
No.
hold on a minute, I'm trying to state it the way that you're proposing it.
It doesn't matter. It is moved and seconded that we make a very important decision. I don't care what it is. Very important decision. Second. It's been moved and seconded to make a very important decision. So there is business. Is there any discussion? Yada, yada, yada. All in favor say aye.
But the
All
language that you're giving is not.
Yada, yada, yada means debate.
And if the motion kept being made, I moved.
No.
Hold on a minute.
It does not keep being made. Stop. Stop. You make the motion, you debate it, and you vote on it. What happened? Was it adopted?
No, it failed.
Was it adopted or lost?
Lost.
Lost. Thank you very much.
But what happened after that is very important, because there was a motion to adjourn. And we kept going around and
Well,
around
wait a
and
minute,
around.
wait a minute. In
No
this
more
case,
business.
There should be no motion to adjourn because you
That's
finished
my-
this motion. My question would be, if someone has another motion to do something, other important stuff, then you do that.
Everything on the agenda had been discussed.
Then you adjourn.
I moved to adjourn, and they refused
They
to
don't have, you
adjourn.
don't even have to move to adjourn.
So Mr. Swift, so you're saying that there is a specific procedure. And I'm saying that procedure was not followed.
Well, that's fine. That's why I'm
You
here.
haven't followed the procedure.
I'm here to help you get over these hurdles. And you also get a package deal. Anytime from here on after, it's a lifetime guarantee, but it's my life. You can email me or call me with your questions. And I'll be glad to answer.
Be careful what you
I know.
wish for.
At that time, though, at that meeting, there wasn't a president either, they did not have.
I
a
understand. There
president.
was some confusion. All of the members were not aware of how to end the meeting.
Yes.
Everyone was of the opinion that you gotta have a motion to adjourn, stated and seconded and yada yada and voted on, and you've done it. Roberts does a lot of things that way, good common horse sense. When you're at the end of the agenda, that's it. Don't beat a dead horse. Or go after Lyndon Baines Johnson, who said, would you rather have me in your tent
Okay.
or outside pissing on it?
So I have one last question. If.
Wait a minute, 35 questions, I'm counting.
35 last
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
On this topic, okay. So, if I were to, call or reconvene the meeting, because it was, in my opinion, it wasn't
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
adjourned. Hold on, I know what you're
Oh,
gonna say.
one other thing.
Uh-huh.
Watch the personal pronouns. And this goes for
Yeah.
everybody. How many people here were in the Navy and are willing to admit it?
You were a Marine, I know.
I was in the Department of the Navy. The point is, it's called the royal we. You say, good morning, your majesty. How is your majesty? And she says, we are fine, thank you. She doesn't say I. He doesn't say,
Okay.
I want something or other. He says, the chair announces the picnic next Tuesday.
So recognize it as an entity.
Yes.
Pretty much.
And it's not I.
Right.
It's
not like the
council
president.
member Brumel. If and you know, it's not necessarily you, it's a council member, it's not an I. So what is it a council member did or wanted to do?
Okay, so, Councilmember Brumel stirred up trouble again.
Okay.
Wants to reconvene the meeting.
Well, a council member cannot reconvene a meeting.
Right.
Okay.
You have rules in your procedures for how meetings are called, and who can call them. The county executive, I think.
Yes.
Well, no, she's
Yes.
not in charter.
Yes.
She can.
It's separate.
And the president and the majority.
You have to hold on, these are the rules.
No, but, okay, this was,
A council member cannot reconvene a meeting, period.
It's
That's it.
2/3.
okay, but, I'll have to go back and look at, because
Go ahead.
I had two other people as well researching Robert's rules, and they said a call.
That wouldn't be in Roberts, it would be in your charter, which is a higher document.
Under what
No,
conditions can a council person supersede all authority of the president?
We didn't have a president.
Well, if you didn't have one, you didn't have one. You should have a chair pro tem at every meeting if the president's not here. In this case, you have the vice president.
We didn't have, did we recognize, no, I think
You wouldn't know.
No, I just ran the meeting because it wasn't.
there
But
was
let me-
no
let me-
chair pro tem, so
let me
this
do
is
something.
highly unusual.
So you see how these rules work, and you got a whole mess of them. The next page is some different ways of voting on different topics. It's for your information. Sometimes you have to decide between more than one, actually. You have to decide between three choices. Should we buy a big lawn tractor, a small lawn tractor, or a push mower? You know, there's three choices to make. There's a decision to make amongst three. And you play these voting games. I drew little charts to show how they work. And it's just for your information so that if you get there, you know how you can handle that. Because when you vote in Roberts in the deliberative society, it's a majority rule. Does everybody know the difference between majority and plurality? And the answer is 300 million Americans, and they all say, no. What's the difference? I say that so you won't feel bad. What's the difference between the plurality and the majority?
Well, I think about plurality is the actual number of people who are giving, aren't they?
Plurality is the most votes.
Yes.
Whoever
Gets the
gets the
most.
most votes wins.
Yes.
So far, so good?
Yeah.
What is the majority?
More than half.
More than half.
Right.
Oh. If you got a choice to make, should we buy the mower or not, it doesn't matter. The plurality and the majority are the same thing, you're gonna vote yes or no. You see it?
Mm-hmm.
But if you got 3 people running for office, oh, could be a problem. What if 3 people run for office and you get 100 votes? One person gets 33 votes, another person gets 33 votes. Keep me straight, what's the other person? 34 votes. Who won?
Yeah. Depends upon the state laws.
Who won the election?
The one that got 34 votes.
How do we do things in America?
Plurality.
Majority rule.
Not in
I'm
Louisiana.
not talking about the Congress.
Not in Louisiana. It's the top.
I'm talking about America.
I'm sorry.
Majority rule. What's a majority of 100 votes?
51.
51 or more. Did any of those candidates get 51 or more? No, there's no election, you gotta recast the ballots. You see the difficulty with majorities, if you have to decide on more than one, buy it or don't buy it, you run into that problem. And sometimes you wanna go to these alternate methods and say, before we stand here and ballot all night, because in democracy you keep balloting until one side gets so tired to go home and somebody wins. Right? I never said democracy was easy or clean and neat.
It's messy.
So the difference between the majority and the plurality, majority is more than half. So if you get one of these 3-sided things you gotta work with, you go to pairwising or weighting, they're weighted votes. And that helps the group make a decision based upon the will of the group. No special voting methods say, this is my, the game always works this way, this is my first choice, and if I can't get it, I'll give you my second choice. And if everybody's first choice doesn't win, you look at the second and re-weight, little charts that show you through it. Now, we're ready to open the book to page 1. Do you have any questions? I know you do. Yes, ma'am.
I'm familiar with this nominal group technique.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of it.
Well, I mean, that's fine. I'm not a fan of them either.
Okay. All right.
I'm not selling any method. I'm just saying.
This isn't in Robert's rule.
No, Roberts doesn't touch that. On the bottom of the thing about my credentials, it says that I'm also a facilitator. What am I? Certified trained facilitator. And I used to work at the Coast Guard, admirals and stuff over in Washington and at what's in Baltimore, First Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And these are facilitator kinds of things. It's a little different from parliamentarian. They have ways of playing games to get votes out of people.
That's right.
And they fake them out and you go, oh hell, we made a decision. I said, yes sir, you did. So that's not in Roberts. Turn to page 1, please. This book has, in the beginning, some just fundamental things about parliamentary procedure. Then it has a set of documents for a fictitious organization. Articles, bylaws, the whole 9 yards, teller's report, all that stuff. And then it has a whole bunch of scripted meetings where they start out absolutely perfect meeting, and each script thereafter gets a little bit stickier. And we use these when we practice parliamentary procedure. But I want you to look at the beginning first, and notice the 4 things you need to have a meeting be legitimate. The first thing is a call. You got that. It's on the web, right? It's in your charter. It says every other Tuesday. And if it's a holiday, you move it here. All that's there. That's the call. It means you notify everyone that has to attend. None of this lawyer ex parte. I call a meeting and don't invite you. So everybody knows. Next thing you need is a quorum. And your charter gives you a quorum. Next thing you need is a presiding officer duly elected. So if you show up and you don't have a president yet, what do? you elect a chair pro tem. And that means that they're going to direct this meeting and this meeting only. And all they're doing is directing traffic. They don't get to take over Cecil County, right? And rewrite the charter and do all this stuff. They just get to direct the meeting, direct traffic. Then you need a secretary, duly elected, to take the minutes, which you don't, because the charter says you're going to have a recorder up here, whatever title you call them, secretary, recorder, clerk, etc. They take the minutes, and then you record them on the audio system. The quorum is the number of voting members who must be there. If a member's there and they're not, but some organizations have full members can vote and associate members can't, that kind of thing. If any of the members can't vote, they're not counted in the quorum. It's the voting members. And for some people, they think there's a difference. An officer doesn't make any difference. The quorum doesn't depend on your rank. It depends on your warm body with a membership card, period.
Can they call in by phone too? I mean,
Not in Roberts. If you're going to do anything by phone, you should write it in your procedures and your charter that you can do this by phone.
Okay, so by Robert's rules,
Roberts says don't do that. He says don't do it, and he says if you do, you should write a whole new set of bylaws, called them, and I've done it with clients, called them E-rules, and do it that way. Because it's a whole new game. The whole point of Roberts in a deliberative society is that I look you in the eye, and if I disagree with you, I tell you, and we debate and I vote. When you get over the phone kind of stuff, that anonymity makes people.
I can see where that would be a problem with bigger councils, but smaller ones, I don't have a problem with.
If you have a small group such as this, you have a phone conference, if your rules say you can, and typically you'll set up rules saying, when everybody's on the line, we will speak in order. Because remember, I can't see you. We'll speak in alphabetical order. Or order by district. District 1, yada, yada, yada. District 2, so go around the loop and say, okay, now we're ready to vote kind of thing. You work up your rules for it. The problem being you're not facing them, so you don't know what's going on. Body language, whether they're frowning at you, whether they're relaxed. Quorum. Next is the minutes. Recommendation on the minutes. Recommendation on the meeting. Don't record it.
What?
Huh? Recommendation on the meeting. Don't record it.
What was done at the meeting, not what was said.
I keep losing.
No, he's saying that what was said isn't the minutes, it's what was done.
Yes.
And in a court of law, sometimes they will go, that you can use what was said to further define what was done.
That is correct, but the warning is this. This goes for corporations, and it goes for public administrations. Once you do that, it becomes, if you're treating it like this, it becomes an official record. Right? And then throw the Fifth Amendment out the window, because it doesn't matter. I have the Fifth Amendment, you don't. I can refuse to answer that question on the ground that doesn't incriminate me. But the council can't go up there and say, no, we're not going to let that information out because it might intimidate the council. And the judge will say, the heck with that. I want those records in here now. And anything that's on there, oh, this and oh, that, is liable. It's fair game.
What's wrong with that?
The minutes, I'm in the parliamentary business. I'm not in the lawyer business. Okay? I don't want to screw anybody, and I don't go backwards. Whatever happened yesterday happened. God forgive them. I got to go forward. Lawyers deal with the fact, you did that 2 years ago, I'm going to sue you. Whatever happened to me 2 years ago, it's done. This is me. One day at a time, move forward.
Yeah, that's not.
So, the minutes, now, regardless of whether you do it or not, it's just advice. The minutes are a record of the action, not what was said. I moved the bylaw nor second, debate, it's adopted, it's in the minutes. All the yada, yada, yada isn't. And if I get mad and say, oh, hell, oh, damn, in the interim, it happens.
You don't put it in the minutes.
Yeah, you just say, oh, okay, Mike, you got a little overheated. Chill.
We had discussion, resolved with the lawnmower.
The lawnmower motion was made, it was seconded, it was adopted. That's what the business of the council is. What someone says, including the citizens out here, is truly their opinion, but it does not have any bearing on the fact that it was adopted. You follow me?
If it doesn't have a bearing, what is the threat? And I'm not talking about the
I-
public, I'm not talking about the public
You
speaking.
should call your lawyer, I'm serious. I don't want to go there. If somebody hollers something in the hall and it's on the recording, then it's there. Every corporation that I deal with, I have quite a few clients, but those that have recorded minutes, or recorded meetings, and then done their minutes, spend so much time arguing and fighting over he said, she said, and then they get their lawyers and their legal counsel, both sides, and I sit there. Well, it's great for me, because when I'm on the road, I get paid by the hour. So you can argue over the minutes for 4 hours, because I get paid by the hour. And they're arguing over, well, he said this, well, now listen, she said, oh, I heard him say this. And I say, what's in the minutes? It was moved to buy a lawnmower. Was it adopted or lost or referred to committee? It was adopted. Thank you very much. There's another thing that happens when you record, and I know he's over here recording. When you record, it stifles free debate, except for people like me.
It doesn't stifle a lot of people, I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. And,
I know you've had some.
there's other things that have happened with the minutes to where the minutes sometimes are creatively,
Then you
it's happened in
eliminate
the past, and, so it's good for the council, and the commissioners before, it was very good for us to
Some
go
people
back.
record the meetings, and then they have the secretary listen.
Mhm.
Secretary listen.
Oh, and they like the recorded meetings as well.
Because they can
Yeah.
hear, sometimes they can't keep up with it, and they go, oh,
And
I
I'm not
missed that
against her.
lawnmower motion, so they
It's-
put it in, and then they erase them. They don't keep a record of, he said, go to hell, and she said,
Well, of course
put in your
not.
hat, and all that other
Right.
stuff. So, moving on to the presiding officer should. I recommend you not record all that stuff, or if you record it, have the secretary listen to see if she missed anything and then erase it. Presiding officer remains impartial or relinquish the chair. States each motion clearly. Restates it again. Addresses only agenda headings with business to conduct. Assists the members in exercising their rights, etc., etc. So if a member is having trouble making a motion, the presiding officer can assist. Stifles any out of order, non-germane. You know, if somebody gets a little heated under the collar, the presiding officer might ask them to chill out.
Can you wait till?
Yeah, I can wait.
And you have a small group, so you can have the presiding officer participate. I mean, a big convention or big meeting, no. But in this small group, the presiding officer usually enters in debate, makes motions, etc., and votes.
Can they make a motion?
Pardon?
Can they make a motion?
In Roberts, there's nothing against a presiding officer making a motion, or voting or debating. In a larger group, the rule is, if the presiding officer is going to enter his opinion on the issue, he should step away from the chair and let the vice president take over. Because if he's in debate, he can't really truly demonstrate impartiality.
Because they don't have a vote. In a weak mayor, you don't have a vote.
Say again?
If you have a weak mayor system, the chairman doesn't have a vote.
Yeah, in Rising Sun, you can vote for a tie, can't you?
Yeah, I can go.
But not for, just for the tie. And if that's the rule, that's the rule.
But I can still make a motion, even though I
If
can't.
there's no rule prohibiting it, yes, sir. Under Roberts, you can make the motion.
Then, going back, with the, many, councils now are videotaping
Mhm.
their meetings.
Former
And to
city
engage-
council is on TV.
Okay, to engage the public, and they found the public's getting more involved. I guess you're saying also that you wouldn't encourage that.
You have to be careful when you do these things. And you, councils like this have a difficulty in that citizens are out here and they're giving you their opinion. And I heard some discussion earlier that pointed this out. if the citizen says, basically, this is a dumb idea and we shouldn't do it, we shouldn't close down the fire department in my neighborhood, you know, and they're upset because that's the fire department right down the street from me. If you move it away, the next one's 5 miles away, and you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't let the budget, and on and on and on. And then the council looks at the budget and says, guess what? We gotta cut the firehouse. And they vote to cut it. You with me? That citizen's mad. Can you do anything about that? No. Whose responsibility is it to vote on the issue to close the firehouse? It's yours. Now, I ask you a question about democracy. I think this evades some people. In a democracy, I got 100 people in the room. We got to shut down the firehouse, and I take a vote. There are 100 council members, right? 51 vote yes. Guess what? It's adopted. Guess what? 49 are stalled. Me. But my job is not to be charming. My job is to direct this meeting. My job, council member's job, is to make the tough decisions where to cut, where not to cut.
Well, I can understand how you're saying that the meeting should be conducted to kind of control the outcry, the hysteria.
Yes, keep that down.
But, on the other hand, we have a responsibility for transparency and for the, to give an opportunity for the public to be heard.
And that's fine.
Okay.
What I heard this morning was there were some issues about, well, somebody was reported as being upset with something. And the answer to that question, that's tough. The vote was to do whatever it was to do. You go by the vote, you make the decision.
That was during council member comment time. And yes, we're allowed to say those things at that time.
That's correct. And then you vote. The secretary should do what? Sit on the platform up behind the president, I'm advocating, and take the minutes. Should have all the documents there, and you have staff here with documents ready to assist the president. Record the minutes, and what the member should do is address the presiding officer by his or her title, speak only to the presiding officer, be seated after speaking, limit the remarks to the pending question, remain silent otherwise. These are fundamental stuff. Committees shouldn't be a problem. In your case, the charters and regulations tell you what departments have what committees and what they're going to do. Organizations get in trouble when they sign a committee. Someone says, I move we appoint a committee of 3 to bring about world peace. And everybody loves the idea and votes yes, and they all go home. And they say, you left out a few details. You got 3 people working on world peace. What are they going to do? When are they going to report? What's their budget? They go, no, they'll be back next month. Okay. That's not your problem. The majority vote, we already did that. It's more than half. Majority is more than half. It's more than half of the ballots cast, excluding blanks and abstentions. A tie vote's a loser. A tie vote's not a majority. With more than 2 options, according to Roberts, a plurality is not a majority and it doesn't adopt anything. If you have a corporation in Maryland, the Maryland Code says you can elect your directors by plurality. Maryland Code's higher than Roberts. If you're incorporated in Maryland, the code says directors can be elected by plurality. Saves a lot of recasting. 2/3 vote means 2/3, and in your case, that's easy. For all 5 members, there's a difference between the majority and 2/3. For 4 or less, there is no difference. Just something to think about. Counting votes, some people have trouble with counting votes. The basic rule is you don't count abstentions. You count the yes, you count the no, you announce the result. It's a simple majority. If it's based on the number of members present, then you have to count the yes votes and the number of members present. If it's based on the membership, you have to count the yes votes and you read the membership, count the membership roster. If it's based on the number of fixed seats, such as in a council, you count the number of votes and then you count the number of seats. Whether they're empty or vacant doesn't matter. See the difference?
I would think that if, when you go back, looking at the minutes, and you know that there's 5 people in that meeting and there's only 4 votes,
Then one
for
abstain.
clarity, yeah, well, you're saying you don't count the abstentions, but for clarity, I don't see what the problem is to note that there was an abstention.
You can put it in.
Okay.
It's not illegal. It points something out. and you can read it in Roberts. It said it's an absolute waste of time and absurd to do so. If you count people who didn't vote, it could be a big count. We did the unanimous consent to the bottom of page 2. We did at the top of page 3, no motion, no debate. We did the handling of a motion, the 6 steps. We did it by the chair. Then there's assignment of the floor, which in a small group this size shouldn't be any problem, but the rule is there's a motion, someone makes a motion, the person who makes the motion gets the first shot at debate. After that, anyone who hasn't spoken gets to debate. If 2 people jump up, the chair picks one that he thought was the first. After that, if 2 people rise, one has already spoken and one hasn't, the person who hasn't gets to go first. It's just a protocol of politeness to keep everything in order.
Mr. Smith?
Yes?
In practical reality terms, how many people actually rise to speak?
In larger organizations, for you, there's no reason to rise in debate.